For years, Nebraska's watched their storied defense and black shirt brand of football slowly fall, and now it ranks among the worst in the nation. The Big Ten's identity is a strong run game paired with a defense that won't break, and if you've been watching Penn State, Michigan, Wisconsin, or Iowa over these last few years, you know exactly what that looks like. The past two head coaches put too much emphasis on big play quarterbacks and neglected what should have been the focal point of their teams. But Matt Rhule knows how important it is to restore the order, and he spent the last 2 weeks searching for the perfect fit. Tony White might not have any of the Big Ten experience, but he's been great everywhere else, and now he comes to Lincoln looking to get this D on track and show the Big Ten what the black shirts are all about. So today, we'll get into why Matt Rhule made the hire and what it means for this defense going forward. But what's up, guys? I'm Connor Hayden, and this is Corn Crazed. If you're a fan of Nebraska or the Big Ten, make sure you hit the subscribe button below because we're less than 50 subscribers away from 16,000. And if you want me to rank the recruits visiting for the weekend, hit the like button now and I'll work on that one tomorrow. But now, let's get into it.
Yet across midfield. Touchdown, Nebraska! Omar Manning!
Exactly 1 year ago today, I dropped a video where I broke down the Mark Whipple hire, and now, 1 year later, we've got almost 10,000 more subscribers and supporters on the channel now than we did back then. And I spend hours writing, researching, recording, and editing these, so I just wanted to take a second to let you know what goes into making one 13-minute video. I spend about 3 hours researching and taking notes to give you the most accurate and the most up-to-date info without all the fluff you don't care about. And it takes me an hour to record since I'm not just reading straight from a script, and then it takes another 2 or 3 hours to edit depending on how many graphics I gotta add in. And I'm only telling you all this because the reason Corn Craze exists is because you watch it, and the reason I can afford to do this since it's pretty much become my full-time job during football season is because so many of you hit the subscribe button, like the videos, and drop comments, which are all things that help me to grow and ultimately make money here. So to all you who've watched and supported the growth over these last 2 years, I just want to take this moment to say thank you, because without you, I couldn't do this, and as you know, I love this. The DC search has been pretty under wraps, and although we've heard some names thrown around, it sounds like the only one we can confirm Rhule reached out to is Jim Leonhard. And there's been this narrative that Matt Rhule wants to bring in his friends as coaches, but if two of his targets were White and Leonhard, I don't think that's true. Both Mark Banker and Eric Shenander were the friendly hires that Riley and Frost chose to roll with, and even though I get the idea of bringing on somebody you've worked with before, rebuilding this defense requires a coach with a more proven resume and recent Power 5 success. Rhule understood the importance of finding an innovative mind who can build a D from scratch and adapt to the evolving Big Ten. So before I give any background or a breakdown about who this Tony White guy is, I just want to say this is the type of hire that exceeded my expectations and gives me more confidence in this new head coach. This morning, Pete Thamel reported the hire, and as soon as he did, I saw 3 tweets that told me this was a good one before I even did the research. The first one came from a Syracuse writer who said losing White wasn't good since he made such a huge impact on their D, and that some were hoping he could take over as their head coach in the future. And the next came from a starting defensive end and a starting corner who were both thrown off since I'm sure they found out through Twitter. But it was a good sign that he was liked by the players and they didn't want to lose him. At one point, he was on the Broyles Award watch list for the best assistant coach in college football, and if the Syracuse offense could have matched the D, they would have been a top 25 team, and he likely ends up a semifinalist. The last good defenses at Nebraska were in 2009 and 2010 when Carl Pelini had the number 1 and number 9 total D in the country. And since then, we've only seen 2 defenses finish in the top 40, and none of the DCs brought in were looked at as good hires. Okay, I guess we can say Bob Diaco was, but to be fair, he had no chance since the wheels had already fallen off and that era was coming to an end even with a decent D. But the point is, now more than ever, Nebraska needs to get a guy in here who can bring back the real black shirts, and that half-ass hire just wasn't going to cut it this time. I want to get into Coach White's resume and what he's done in his career so far, but before I do, I got to shout out BroThrow for sponsoring today's video. And I've told you about the website and the group 20 times now, so today I'm just going to explain why I use BroThrow to place bets instead of any of these other sites. If you bet on games in a casino or with a bookie or on any of these popular gaming apps, you're betting against the house. And the house takes a cut of every bet you win, so over time, that adds up to be a lot of money. But BroThrow isn't the house. BroThrow is just the platform that pairs you with other people from around the country to bet against. So you get to keep that extra 10% of every win that you wouldn't get to if you placed that bet anywhere else. So when you bet $50 on the other site, you only win 45. But when you bet 50 on BroThrow, you win 50. You can sign up for free at brothrow.com/GBR, and that'll put you right in a group with 700 other Corn Craze subscribers. So, as long as you're 18 plus and live in any state in the US, since it's legal everywhere, you can make an account today and start making bets on games tonight. And I sent out another 15 merch orders today, so I just want to remind you that the site is live until the end of the month, and if you want to grab merch before I take it down to help support the channel, you can use the code GBR for 25% off your order at checkout. And every dollar from your purchase goes back into supporting this channel, so if you haven't gotten your stickers yet or you haven't tried one of our hoodies, you should definitely check it out. We'll start off with the resume. The connection to Rhule goes back to 2001 in Pasadena when Tony White was a senior linebacker at UCLA and Matt Rhule was in his first and only year as the D-line coach under Phil Snow. Interesting how we can go from assuming Snow's going to be the DC just 2 weeks ago to having one of his players get the job today. But anyway, after UCLA, he ended up as a position coach at New Mexico, San Diego State, and ASU for 12 years before he finally got promoted to his first DC job in 2019. There's one name that I keep seeing come up in this guy's life. Rocky Long was the DC at UCLA who recruited White back in 1998. Rocky was the head coach at New Mexico who gave White his first job as a linebackers coach in 2008. And Rocky was the head coach at San Diego State who helped turn White into an elite cornerbacks coach and taught him the 3-3-5 defense. I don't want to get too deep into the scheme, but there's a video I linked in the description box below that explains the 3-3-5, how it was used and developed under Long, and how it changed over time and at Syracuse these past couple of years. Rocky Long's San Diego State team won 3 Mountain West championships, and the point I'm trying to make here is that he's the direct disciple of a very successful defensive-minded coach. As the corners coach in San Diego, the most impressive stat I saw was that the defense led the country with 26 interceptions in 2016. And I mentioned the 3 Mountain West championships, but in the last 3 years he was there, they finished with 10 or 11 wins every season. In 2011 and 2013, he was named the Mountain West Recruiter of the Year by a recruiting site, and in 2014, he was ranked as a top 5 recruiter in the group of 5. In year 1 as the corners coach and passing game coordinator at ASU, their passing defense finished in the top 75 nationally, which is 50 spots higher than they had ranked the year before. And in year 2, the D ranked 12th nationally in passes defended, and multiple DBs ended up with national or all-conference recognition. In his first year as a defensive coordinator, which I think was 2019, ASU finished 35th nationally in total D, and they only gave up 22 points a game. After a strong run in Tempe, Syracuse made him the highest paid assistant coach in the history of their program, paying over $700,000 a year to get him there. And in year 1, nothing went their way, and they finished 2020 with just 1 win. But the one positive takeaway that won't be overlooked by anybody in Nebraska, there were 3 freshmen on defense who earned All-America honors from different outlets. In year 2, they took a huge step forward. The total defense ranking jumped from 90th to 65th, and they ranked 19th in yards allowed per game and 16th in sacks. This year, the total D jumped 30 spots all the way to 35th nationally, and I saw at least 4 of his guys end with all-conference honors. The key takeaway from this entire 12-year journey is that we haven't seen a plateau. He and his defenses have only gotten better as time goes on. I've seen some comments and gotten messages about the 3-3-5 scheme and why it won't work in the Big Ten, but as I've said before, I trust these coaches. In theory, you want bigger bodies on the line and linebackers who are bigger that can stop the run before it gets started, but there are multiple ways to attack the classic Minnesota or Iowa offense, and Tony White has some packages ready to go. Just like in the real world, if you don't evolve, you die off. USC and UCLA are joining the Big Ten in 2024, and I can promise you, their offenses are going to be much more complex and dynamic than what we've been seeing from Minnesota and Iowa. Wisconsin just brought in Luke Fickell, and an offensive coordinator from North Carolina who loves to throw the ball. So the defense going forward has to be able to succeed against all type of offenses since we're about to see way more variety than we're used to. I know a lot of fans wanted to hear who Rhule is bringing on, but I think the players have been more anxious than we have. This hire gives guys like Newsome, Buford, and Hartzog some serious hope that they could all be developed into draft picks over these next couple years. And linebackers like Nick Henrich, Luke Reimer, and even Garrett Nelson would all have a key role in this defense and would have a chance to make a lot more disruptive plays than they have so far. So if I was a player today, I'd be more worried about losing my spot to somebody in the portal who sees an opportunity or to a true freshman with a high ceiling who fits the mold than I would be about leaving Nebraska to go play in a better defense. Syracuse just lost their OC too, so I would not be surprised if one or two guys from his defense last year entered the portal looking for a new opportunity. But either way, the portal's filled with guys who can contribute right now, and I bet they land at least one or two solid starters here in these next couple weeks. We wanted a flashy hire, and we got one. We wanted a big name coach who Rhule chose because of his accomplishments and not because of his relationship, and we got that. The more time goes on, the more I realize this guy Matt Rhule knows exactly what he's doing, and he's taking this rebuild as seriously as he needs to if he wants to compete for a playoff spot when that thing expands 2 years from now. And I'd rate this hire as an 8 out of 10, and I fully expect to see some draft picks coming soon. At San Diego, he had 4 DBs taken. He sent 3 of his players to the NFL from ASU, and just last year, 2 Syracuse DBs went in the 3rd round. Again, this is the flashy hire. But I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments below. Are you on board with Tony White and the 3-3-5D he's bringing over from the ACC? Do you think Rhule made the right choice, or was there somebody else you were hoping for? And can this D get back into the top 50 nationally next year, or are we expecting a slow build back to relevancy? I can't wait to see the Black Shirts establish an identity and be the strongest unit on the field again, but I still think we're a year or 2 away from breaking into the top 30 nationally. That's all I got for you today, so until next time, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Go Big Red.